Hey mates, good morning. How are we all doing today? It is December 29th, 2021, and it is near approaching the end of 2021. It's crazy. I feel like this year went by in an absolute blink, but it's definitely been one of my most adventurous years, you could say, in a particular sense. But today, I'm once again revisiting the Myakka River, which is a great example of a blackwater stream. Now, here is something to note. Florida is actually known for 3 separate types of rivers. So, like, you have an alluvial stream, so that, I like how I shook the camera for emphasis. You have an alluvial stream. Alluvial is just a fancy word for saying sediments. Now, really in this part of South Florida, you'll very seldomly find alluvial streams. You usually have to go a bit further up north. A great example of an alluvial stream in Florida is the Apalachicola stream. But you have to go up by the Panhandle to be there, essentially. And then the second type of rivers that you'll often find in Florida, especially in South Florida, are blackwater streams. Oh yeah, by the way, I forgot to mention the Apalachicola River is the only river that deposits sediments from the Appalachian Mountains. So that actually is partially responsible as to why Florida has some of that limestone as its bedrock. But going back on the subject of blackwater streams, the thing is with these types of rivers, such as that of the Myakka, the amount of life that you'll see is a bit more minimal. You may be wondering, why is that the case? Well, think of it this way. There's a lot of leaching that occurs in a blackwater stream. So you may notice that the water appears rather dark. As I've mentioned before in past videos, the water is dark because of a chemical compound called tannins. It's funny, in a sense, it does make the water appear rather tan. So tannins are basically organic compounds that come from swamps or even wetlands, or I should say marshes, because essentially swamps and marshes are 2 different types of wetlands. The only difference is a swamp is forested. So you may notice that it is a bit more forested here, where you have a chance to see more of the hardwood hammocks. Now, usually not too far away are a bunch of swamps. So that's essentially where a lot of these organic compounds come from. They come from the swamps. And specifically, most times are live oaks, sans live oaks, laurel oaks, just to name a couple of different types of trees. They excrete these tannins. And you can really find them especially in their acorns, too. Now, the thing is, though, to keep in mind, you do not want to ingest tannins directly, because it actually is poisonous. It can kill you if it's ingested too much. But besides that type of drastic news, tannins have even been used in leather, especially for dyeing. it. So in a sense, the tannins do the same exact thing to the stream right here. But yes, in blackwater streams, you'll very seldomly find any plants or even wildlife. It's just because with it being darker, it really minimizes how much sunlight can pass through. So most times you'll really find mostly sedges, especially along the banks. So like for instance, right over here, where my finger is, that's an example of a sedge right there. So that's just something to keep in mind. But usually most rivers in Florida are relatively flat. And that's just because there really isn't much of a slope. Okay, hold on. I gotta move off to the side for a second. Sorry about that, mates. I had to pause for a moment. There were a couple of people in some jet skis, so I wanted to move out of their way. But going back on what I was saying about the slope, you know, generally most of Florida isn't really that hilly. It is relatively flat. So most times a lot of these rivers are also flat as well. So you really won't find as many rapids, you could say. Now, usually the flatter it is, the slower the water will travel, or the velocity is lower. So usually in these types of streams, the velocity might only be a mile per hour, and that's it. No more, no less. And depending on how much water is in the stream, you know, if there's less of it, it could maybe be a third of a mile per hour. It's crazy. So actually, in a sense, you know, with it being as slow as it is, it makes it more ideal for kayaking, because you don't have to do as much work when you're going upriver. Now, the third type of stream that you'll find in Florida are seepage streams. So usually those are spring fed. So same thing, you'll find those a bit further up north. So you won't really find them over here, as there really aren't as many springs. So I think that's an aspect I look forward to, is actually exploring a little bit of northern Florida, because I think it would be really neat to actually stumble upon some springs. But usually the water in those types of streams are a bit more clearer, because usually spring water is much clearer. But yeah, like I said, the Myakka River never disappoints. It's alright, you guys. Hope you all have a chance to enjoy your Wednesday. Hope you learned something of value in my video. And once again, journey on a journey is ours. Take care, folks. See ya.